Guitarist Marty Friedman would be best known for playing in Megadeth during the 90s. He would play on the group's albums from 1990 to 1999 and would end up leaving the band after their much maligned 1999 record Risk. Most people likely expected Friedman would fade into obscurity, but instead, he would unexpectedly become a huge superstar overseas. Today, let's explore why Marty Friedman quit Megadeth and the surprising story of what happened afterwards. Marty Friedman was part of what some fans would consider to be the classic lineup of Megadeth. In addition to Friedman, the lineup was made up of drummer Nick Menza, bassist David Ellefson, and vocalist and rhythm guitarist Dave Mustaine. The classic lineup of the band would create the highly respected album 1990's Rust in Peace, and their most commercially successful record of their career, 1992's Countdown to Extinction. But by the turn of the century, Friedman's own tastes had drifted away towards a sound that was far removed from the type of music Megadeth owed its success to. 10 years earlier, by the late 80s, Megadeth had established themselves as a force to be reckoned with, but the band seemed to have a revolving cast of musicians coming and going. By 1989, the band was 3 albums into their career and were ready to write their follow-up record, 1990's Rust in Peace. Ahead of the album's sessions beginning, the band enlisted drummer Nick Menza and guitarist Marty Friedman. Friedman, up until this point in time, had cut his teeth playing in several bands, including Hawaii and Cacophony. Friedman would be tipped off to the audition by a friend of his, who told him that Megadeth were looking for a new guitarist, and Friedman would end up calling Megadeth's manager at the time, Ron Lafitte, and booked an audition. His audition would end up showing up on the group's DVD, Arsenal of Megadeth, years later, and Friedman would openly admit to Loudwire that by the time he auditioned for the band in early 1990, he was borderline homeless, living with women he had met, and was sporting multicolored hair and surviving on a steady diet of rice and lollipops. But looks aside, Mustaine was impressed with Friedman's audition and hired the guitarist the same day. Friedman would admit in the same interview that once he joined Megadeth, he could afford to go to the hair salon, and he cleaned up his appearance to look more presentable, to fit in with what he thought was Megadeth's clean-cut guy-next-door image. But interestingly enough, Friedman wasn't the only person on Mustaine's radar, as it was reported that Slash of Guns N' Roses was offered the spot, in addition to Pantera's Dimebag Darrell, who agreed to join the band provided his brother Vinny was also in the group. But that idea would fall through since the band already had a drummer. Megadeth would release their first album with Friedman, Rust in Peace, on September 24th, 1990. It would feature such classic songs including Hangar 18 and Holy War's The Punishment Due. The album would end up going platinum, selling 1 million copies by 1994. Friedman's last album with the group would be their universally panned record Risk, which strayed too far from the band's traditional sound. By 2000, Friedman was out of the group, with MTV publishing a report at the time, with bandleader Dave Mustaine putting out a statement saying Friedman left to, and I quote, pursue other musical interests. In the same statement, Mustaine would also reveal that Friedman was, and I quote, an incredible player, and he had been a keystone in Megadeth, and that the band was sorry to see him go and wished him well. Al Pitrelli of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra fame would end up taking his place. While it was believed that Friedman was largely responsible for the band's sound on Risk, he would clarify that to Loudwire, saying that he wanted the album to showcase the two extremes of the band, as he revealed here.
On Risk, it said that you heavily encouraged Dave Mustaine to indulge in his pop sensibilities for the record.
That and heavier stuff too.
Oh, so the dynamics.
I wanted it to be like either or and both. Like I didn't want it to be down the middle.
Like you were talking about Japanese music almost.
Yeah, I wanted like, for example, like you have a band like X Japan, who I was into at the time. They have these ultra heavy metal, sounds kind of like new wave of British heavy metal songs on 10.
Sure.
And then they have these like Barry Manilow ballads.
Yeah.
And it's that contrast that really appealed to me. And in Megadeth, I thought with a name like Megadeth, we should be fucking heavy as fuck. And then we could afford to have something that's like a, not a poppy ballad, but like kind of a ballad that works. Like, I have a lot of respect for Metallica, and they did a ballad, and it still sounded like them, and I'm like, why can't we do something like that, And so I wanted to do really, really heavy stuff, and something that could also appeal to people who don't like their tempos that fast. And there's room for everything, and actually all of us at that time cooperated as best as we could, and there was no fighting about anything as far as I remember.
In the same interview, he would reveal that he was tired of holding the flag for traditional metal and musically wanted to do more. He would tell LA Weekly, "I would go on stage and play American heavy metal, but then at the end of the night in my hotel room, I would listen to nothing but Japanese pop music. I decided that I would rather play the music that I was listening to." Friedman would be exposed to Japanese music when he was a child, growing up on the island of Hawaii. He was first exposed to enka, which was a form of traditional Japanese music, and he wouldn't be exposed to Japanese rock and pop until years later. He would admit in an interview to Tofugu.com that his guitar playing was largely inspired by Japanese classical music, revealing, "I emulated the voices of top-class enka singers with my guitar. Everyone else was copying Eddie Van Halen, Jeff Beck, and guys like that, so most guitars sounded quite similar then. I was on a different path of guitar interpretation altogether." Mustaine had his own versions of why Friedman left the band, telling the Colorado radio station KILO 94.3, revealing, "Marty and I were going in different directions. Of course, we're friends now and I've always loved his playing, but he wanted to do something else. And I should have said, okay, let's stop. I'll get a new guitar player, you go on your way." But instead, he stayed longer than he wanted, and I think I kept him longer than I should have. But Mustaine would claim in the same interview that the straw that broke the camel's back was the guitar solo on the song Breadline on their album Risk. Friedman's solo would be removed by the group's management and replaced with Mustaine's solo. Friedman wasn't aware of the change until he heard the final mix, and according to Mustaine, he quickly quit the group after that. Friedman's love of Japanese music resulted in the guitarist learning Japanese and moving to the island country in 2003. He would tell Tofugu, "I looked at the top 10 in the US and rarely found a single song that I liked. I looked at the top 10 in Japan, and usually 8 or 9 songs were songs I liked. As an artist, I knew I had to be in a place where I wanted to make music." It was a risky move, no pun intended, given that 80% of the music consumed in Japan is from local artists, while international acts make up the remaining 20%. Friedman, for his part, had no contacts in Japan, but he got a huge break when he first arrived in the country. He would tell Rolling Stone, "As soon as I got here, I got very lucky. I joined a band with a singer named Akaiwa Nanase, kind of a household name, a rock and J-pop singer in Japan. That got me started and on my way to doing things that I wanted to do." And it wasn't too long after that a production company approached Friedman about hosting a TV show called Mr. Heavy Metal, with him remembering to the same interviewer, "They wanted me to do these skits where I would play Japanese traditional songs on guitar and morph them with heavy metal songs in such a way that the viewers and the show guests would laugh at the implied similarities of the two seemingly unrelated styles of music. Who else could do that?" He would soon get an offer to do a spin-off show called Rock Fujiyama, and couple that with his own solo albums and guest appearances on other artists' records. He also got his own radio show, and his career soon had a rebirth. He would tell Rolling Stone, "A lot of the people in Japan still only know me from TV. At first I resented that. My attitude was that I'd done all of this music, but now I do this one TV show and everyone knew me from that. But I eventually realized that that was the best thing ever and enjoyed everything that came from doing that TV show." Rolling Stone, for their part, would refer to Friedman as the Ryan Seacrest of Japan. Friedman would admit to Rolling Stone that he likely has made over 600 TV appearances in Japan, including a cooking show. And he would also reveal that he moonlights as a songwriter for numerous Japanese idol groups as well. Even the government of Japan acknowledged Friedman's popularity in the country, naming him Japan's Heritage Ambassador to promote the country's 2020 Olympics. And his popularity in Japan soon started to make news in America, and it would be an LA-based heavy metal label who reached out to the musician to reissue his Japanese solo album stateside. The reissues would be well received, and Friedman would play his largest tour of America in over a decade. Of course, the question of a Megadeth reunion of the Rust in Peace lineup is continually brought up in interviews, but the prospect seems unlikely. In 2014, Megadeth offered Friedman and drummer Nick Menza the opportunity to rejoin the group, but Friedman told the LA Weekly, "I think anyone that has something as good as Rust in Peace in their history doesn't want to revisit it unless you're going to top it. I didn't see any reason to mess with that. I didn't see a reunion as being what it could be and what the fans deserve." It also came out around this time that, according to Friedman, money was an issue as well. He would be quoted in the Dave Mustaine book Rust in Peace, the inside story of Megadeth's masterpiece, saying, "My main thing was that I'd be happy to do it, but I'm not going to take less money than I'm already making to do it. I'd been in Japan for more than 10 years cultivating a career with solid rewards. I was making money not only for myself but for my management and staff. My manager's been with me for 15 years. But I was certainly not going to take less to join a band that, frankly, at this point, didn't seem like they had much to offer musically. And musically, I hadn't heard anything that they've done in a long time. I don't know about how relevant they continue to be in the music business. It wasn't like Megadeth was on the tip of people's tongues, at least not in Japan. I had reached the point where people stopped immediately connecting me to Megadeth and were talking about the things I had done in Japan. In the same interview, Friedman would go on to state that he viewed Megadeth as more of a Dave Mustaine solo project due to the revolving cast of musicians in the band. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like button and subscribe, and we'll see you again on Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.